Share the Load is built on confessions of many women and men and not on insights. That's number one. Number two, we do not invent anything. We show the mirror because society knows it. We know the hypocrisy of our society, which is why we love stand-up comedy. Because stand-up comedy tells us what we can't tell each other. It's absolutely addictive when somebody trusts you to create value. And I think very few clients do that. If somebody asks me, how do I get most from your agency? I'll say, ask them that give me value, not a campaign. I think you said something very beautiful, and I'll probably steal it, which is great brands manifest law of attraction. They kind of attract those people who are going to be the ambassadors of the belief system the brand believes. I think Share the Load is a story which is much contradictory to the gospel that people don't have attention. Actually, people have attention for things they care about. It's a people organization, and I'm going on record to say that this one industry has done disservice to people. We keep talking about people are important, but we have really not taken care of our people. My favorite childhood memory is having a dream that I'll have a house where in one corner there'll be samosas, other corner there'll be jalebi, and in another corner there'll be a puppet show, and third corner there'll be some kind of makeshift drama happening, and I'm sitting in the middle and having samosa and jalebi and watching both of these.
Hello fellows, welcome to the next episode of Jagged with Jasravi. Subscribe to my channel for conversations at the edge with thought leaders from the branding, marketing, and the business world. Conversations that ignite new ideas with rough and sharp edges. Hello, Suraj. Great to have you on my show.
Hi, Jasravi. I can't recognize you, like you absolutely fabulous as the anchor.
Hi, Logo. This gentleman has been my professor also, has been my senior boss-like person also, and a friend. So yes, okay, we take everything with a lot of love.
Thank you for giving away my age.
Sorry?
Thank you for giving away my age. I haven't hidden it by my hairstyle, but yeah.
Oh, my age is under question as well. But you see, it's just a number, Suraj. Yeah, we vibe on that, right? Okay. If I requested you to tweet your profile, what would you say?
I would say that I'm a lost child, like who is finding his way home. And on his way back home, he's trying to figure out why people do what they do. And maybe in figuring that out, he will find his home.
Yeah. Wow, isn't this every soul's journey? I mean, whether they're aware of it or not, or they're mindful of it or not, but finding home is everything, isn't it?
Yeah, possibly. I believe so. But I mean, this is my personal journey, and I'll be delighted if everyone will be doing that. But this is my personal journey, and that's my introduction.
Wow. Okay. So, what an idea, Suraj ji. Huh? You cut to straight away. I'm taking you to those times when I could say we were colleagues. So, yes. So it was amazing when idea of not that great, well known, with not great brand image came up with these communications that shook us all, with Abhishek Bachchan taking on all kinds of roles and very, very futuristic scenarios, solving societal challenges like education for all, no casteism, and no ullu banawing, you can't deceive anyone. I mean, it was very, very ahead of its times, and education for all is like something that's really happening. COVID really made it true. So how did you guys realize the power that is there in this small little tiny handheld device?
I think it's like going back in the lanes where you used to be a child or adult or middle-aged adult, or because to me, thinking of those times when I started working on idea, nobody wanted to work on it because telecom at that time was a curse for anybody in the agency or the marketing side, because the frantic pace you see of startups today, telecom used to have that. Overnight, The tariffs used to change, the products used to change, the value offers used to change, and overnight marketing had to kind of put that input in the market. So it was a sweat job, you know. And I remember that everybody used to be wondering that which other account, which other brand they could work on in the agency. And I remember vividly that the MD Sanjeev Aga was singularly responsible for pushing us out into a zone or a think mode, saying, you know what, my network is still under play, my customer service still building. I'm not the national network. I'm missing in metros. At that time, Idea did not have telephony in Calcutta and Bangalore. We were a regional telecom brand, underspending than Vodafone and Airtel. His ask was very simple. We will do the network and customer care. What can you do for us? And if you're going to only do what we can do and tell to the world, then what is the power of advertising, creating value for brands? You know, I remember not going home for 3 days. We did not go home for 3 days. And like I say that you need a village to raise a child, you need a village to do a campaign, to create an idea which creates value. There was an entire village which was involved and did not go home, you know, right from Balki, Tarun, Nikhil Rao, Ashwin, whole gang, Taranum. There was a whole village which did not go home for 3 days because we were challenged to create value. You know, it's absolutely addictive when somebody trusts you to create value. And I think very few clients do that. If somebody asks me, how do I get most from your agency? I'll say, ask them that give me value, not a campaign. You know, when you ask your people to give more, they do more. And I think out of that was born saying, what can we add? And there was this imaginative idea that telephony can actually achieve a lot of things. It's going to change the world. Today, when you're talking about education for all, or everybody will vote and stuff like that, I am just thinking that did we give all these startup ideas for free? Think about it. That time we gave all these startup ideas for free. Today there are startups which are minting business out of it. It's possible to teach people through mobile phone, possible to do healthcare through mobile phone. It's possible to do democracy through mobile phone. We gave it away free, but I'm glad we did. And we did it before others could believe it. It succeeded because you're ahead of time. For me personally, I think every time you do a value creation, you don't create value, you are reborn. I think I as a professional was reborn as what planning means, what insights mean, how do you build brands, because we are fixated in the textbooks we read. Actual life is lived, not studied in the self-help books. Most people want to read self-help books and live a better life. You cannot live a better life by reading self-help book. You can live life, have accidents, and understand how to live better. We were doing that on Idea. We started with a very, very run-of-the-mill idea campaigns, hardworking. We moved on to it's a good idea. Instead of sending a bouquet, sending an MMS for 15 rupees is a good idea. But that's not good enough. And guess what? A brand which says an idea can change your life, we were not changing our own brands. Which brand has idea as its brand name? And in marketing and advertising, if there's one intangible ingredient which creates billions of value, it's an idea. Excuse me. So to me, I think personally, that push asked from the client and our desire to create something of value, being worthy of Idea the brand, being able to see a future which didn't exist. All these were school for me. How do you plan on a brand like that? How do you think what mobile telephony could do? That's pure imagination. And that taught me early on that strategy is imagination. Anybody thinks strategy is rational, they're going to create middle-class brands, middle-of-the-road brands. They will never create brands which will outshine. Strategy is on the borderline, when it is neither night nor day, when it is neither logic nor magic. It is at the cusp. Most great imagination sit at the cusp. When you sit in the night to go to the loo at 2 in the night, 3 in the night, or morning, you don't know, you can't call it night and morning. You get confused between catching a flight when it is 1 o'clock in the morning, saying, is it day, night, which day, night? And I think idea sits over there. It's to us, and to me personally, idea told me that adopting a tone different than the competition, imagining a future which brand can shine a torch on, you know, breaking the format of how brands are built, you know, taking that risk, having a client who has the courage to support it, all are ingredients for a great case study. You know, it. I think all of us became richer by doing it. We might not have got bonuses separately, but we were far richer after doing idea campaign, which was what an idea, where we understood what a celebrity brought to desk. We understood what we brought to desk, and today it remains a case study.
Wow, wow. I don't know. So many segues, so many threads. Uh, when you talked about you were reborn into,
Yes,
getting to the depths of what planning could do, what value a brand could bring to the business.
yeah,
This is amazing to witness so early in your journey.
yeah, yeah.
And so nice because you take sessions with Micah and all, and we'll come back
Yes,
to that later. But this whole thing about imagination and this whole thing about uh, what can this brand be for this segment, for these people, for the nation, to let yourself fly on that and yet be on the cusp. By the way, the cusp is the
yes,
edge that we talk
I can see
about.
that.
Yeah.
I can see. Yes,
Creativity lies at the edge. So this is again, I think in the Cannes this time also, this got discussed a lot, that strategy is constipated,
yes,
imagination is the laxative. So this case study clearly shows that, uh, you know, uh, when you do that, when you are brave enough to do that, or when you can envision that, when you can
yes,
imagine that, and then you have a client like that, the relationship and the entire agency as a village, wow, what's possible? What an
yes,
idea, Sirji, to hone wala hai.
yeah, yeah.
Um, After that, so is it because of that this brand entered your life again in its new avatar in the new times at BBDO? Again, you have what of an idea?
I I feel it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Okay.
When you actually have a baby who you nurture, and then the baby grows up and you find that baby again, and this time it's not a baby, it's a full-grown adult. But you feel like a parent again. You feel like, I know, I have seen this baby grow up, and you feel close to it. And it's a bit like our children who grow up, but we see them like toddlers, and you still want to give them as much love as you gave when they were toddlers, while they like it or not, you know. But to me it was a bit like that. I mean, coming back to BBDO, where they were handling idea at the same time when I joined them as CEO, and I said, wow, like maybe that's the reason I'm joining them. Maybe there is a destiny which is coming alive right now, you know. So I felt secretly absolutely thrilled, you know. And I couldn't tell anybody because it seemed like a very small thing, that, oh, just because you worked on a brand at some time. No, I didn't work on a brand. I was reborn there. And after a few years, maybe it's going to again rekindle that, which is latent in me, or which is very alive in me. So to me, it was absolutely thrilling to work on idea again. And all the parental instinct came alive, rushing into it, that I would love to know more about it. I love to grow it more and further. And it also happened at a time when they were always talking about mergers. It's like your kid is going to the university and they won't come back. It's the empty nest syndrome. And I felt like that, saying, oh, merger would mean there will be no idea. The whole thought was absolutely disappointing. But I believe market forces were taking over. Economics was taking over. And we did get a chance to, nail few last ones, which we are proud of, with a new village I was part of at BBDO, with Josie and Hemant and other gang.
Wow. I mean, it's you see, when they used to say, we've kind of grown up on this now, Suraj, that brands are like people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of relationship they have with people, consumers, individuals. And isn't it great to see the love you have for your own brand? All the analogies that you took, then I could see the pain in letting go, when your child was going to university. Oh God, I have to let go. Market forces have to take over. The
Yeah.
world is going to influence it. It's not going to be under my protection, but it needs the exposure. So fine.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for
Amazing.
understanding that.
Amazing, amazing. So, were there any different challenges, any insights that got leveraged while building the brand again at BBDO or in your?
I think world was very different by then.
Hmm.
I think all the ideas we had given at Lowe was already big startups. They were an academy and Baiju and all. They were all doing education for all and everybody. We were living in an urban company world, and I wondered what could you do which could still be wondrous and joyous like we used to be. That's a challenge when a brand has to sustain a position and a platform for a very long time. And you need to go back to the context, you know. You need to go back to the culture because brand and culture has to move along. And we realize that we are living in times where network is no more a question. Everybody has network more or less, with a little bit of complaints here and there. Everybody has smartphone. The startups have happened. The great wonders of technology has taken over. You can't just be another, oh, I have an idea, and therefore what an idea. It has to be more doable, actionable, life-changing. And I remember when we were doing the last piece and we realized that a lot of people today are going out of business because the malls are taking over. Yesterday, when I used to go to small towns and I used to ask my client partner saying, where do I go? And say, why don't you go to this small shop? It's the most legendary shop for kachori. And I would go and have that local savory. And today, when I ask them where do I go and say, haven't you seen this new mall which has come up? I said, I've just skipped the mall in Bombay and you're sending me back there. So we were living in a very different times, but we realized that there were a lot of SMEs and shop owners, mom and pop stores, which were going defunct because the Amazon had taken over. Because and something many people have talked about, small shop owners being challenged, you know. And we realized that if we used to give an idea that how could they change their livelihood, how could they change their life, maybe it will be more relevant to the times, you know. And we came up with a simple thought which said, not working, start networking, you know. Because if the old mom and pop store is not working, all you need to do is actually put it on WhatsApp, put it on network, and start. If you network, which is what a real example of Misho and few of these are, where the small mom and pop stores are using WhatsApp and other things to actually sell products. And that really worked out for us because there were green shoots of it. There were some semblance of that already taking over at that time. And today it's a reality full blown. So I feel that it's absolutely like your child. While you can treat your 20-year-old like a toddler, you need to give the respect it demands at that age, you know. So we were giving the respect to the brand, but not losing the delivery which the brand was doing to the culture and context.
Awesome. Yeah, the roots of the idea and the power of the idea and the transformational nature of the idea was
Yes,
sacrosanct. It's just the context and what it would enable or what scenarios you would take, futuristic or otherwise, changed. After listening to you, it's not even a surprise for anyone, I'm sure, that these kind of brands come under your chatar chaya this way or that way, because that kind of depth and if I could say purpose, gets fueled and gets nurtured and becomes a fire, maybe takes on the imagination of the whole humanity, perhaps. And now we come to share the load. Okay, share the
yes,
load is, and earlier when you were talking about your mother,
yeah,
the thought that came to me was that, you can relate to it because I was
yeah,
listening to Josie Paul at a point in time when he
yeah,
was talking about the origin of the story, and he was saying that in that room there were so many women who were
yeah,
sharing anecdotes from their lives, and I felt that the brand is attracting a team who can
yes,
really feel for this,
yeah,
because it's so deeply ingrained. I think we've talked about it earlier also in one of our conversations. So
yes,
I just want to listen to you now, but there are two, three aspects to it. And
Yes,
I
yes.
want you to decide how you want to talk about Share the Load Ariel brand, how it's been such a wonderful case study, such an inspiring and brave case study since I think you've been handling since last 7 years.
Yes. I think you said something very beautiful, and I'll probably steal it, which is great brands manifest law of attraction, you know, because they kind of attract those people who are going to be the ambassadors of the belief system the brand believes. And I'm getting an idea from you that why don't we create those brands which manifest law of attraction versus noise and generate some impressions and bit of engagement numbers, because that is a byproduct of being law of attraction. You know what I mean? Great brands are magnets for those people who have unfulfilled dreams and aspirations and unresolved conflicts in their personal life. you know I've always said this, that people don't need better brands, they need better life. you know and I have always applied life to brands, and I've been more successful than applying brands to life. you know um, so to me, Share the Load really was law of attraction. And last 5 years has been a great journey in trying to see how do we challenge ourselves, because one of the most industry defining case study. The good thing about good work in advertising and marketing is everybody wants it. You don't have this thing, oh, it's not my brand, I won't talk about that case. Everyone talks about it. And that's the great idea of value creation. So to me, challenge of beating earlier Share the Load, the previous Share the Load, and contributing to the market as well as social agenda this Share the Load has been championing is a great exercise. It starts at a place where you find it difficult to contribute year after year. To sustain that for 7 years, I would probably take a bet that it's single most purpose-led performance campaign delivering year after year. And I won't mind saying purpose-led campaigns. We just become sheepish about talking about brand purpose for some reason, because just become a bad child of the marketing and advertising people in the age of short-term optimized world we live in. But if we did not have a purpose of our life, and I would like to ask the fraternity today in this podcast, that if you think your life should not have purpose and only optimization, and if the answer is yes, I'm willing to shut up on that. And if the answer is no, I want to challenge you and say, are you really optimizing for long term? Are you optimizing to create value, or optimizing to cost cut? Optimizing to have some bit of savings? Optimization is not a strategy. Having a purpose is a strategy, because purpose decides you to commit that I will make sure my child will have the freedom to explore and find the potential. That's the purpose as a parent. What's the purpose you have for the brand? So I feel that we have a responsibility. I do feel that by our education and exposure, marketing and advertising people have more resources at their disposal. We have read more, we have understood the world more, we are exposed more, we are traveling more. We know how we can impact culture. Instead of having a brand strategy, if every brand started having a cultural strategy, you won't mind saying I have a purpose. But if you don't have a culture strategy, you'll be probably sitting in a position of purpose. So it's just the place where you come from. I always say that when two families meet, they are incompatible like a pen drive and a computer. They both have content, but they don't read each other. I think we are living in that world. We are not reading each other. We are incompatible. So to me, I feel that what Share the Load did is very close to me, which I talked about, right? And law of attraction is all those people who believe that it should be an equal world. All those people believe that life should be better, not just brands, will believe in this brand. And guess what? I want to talk about another thing which I keep telling Josie also, because I told him, Josie, do you realize what you have done? It is a purpose which is not feel good purpose. It is a purpose which has paid off. It is a purpose which has paid off time and time again, because no PNG and no corporation today are not for profit. So I'm going on record to say that how much value it has created for Ariel. Today, across so many years, you have 40 million new consumers. across 7 years. You have created consideration and penetration. There are equity scores which has gone up year after year. Nobody is going to invest in a purpose because it's feeling good. That's a simple question to ask. Why Ariel has been doing it for 7 years? And I must say this another thing which I said, right? It takes two to tango. Hats off to PNG, hats off to Sharath, Josie, keeping that relationship going, because I think child gets spoiled when it has too many parents. You have your own parents and grandparents, and you'll make sure that your child doesn't hear everything from everyone, because the child is going to get confused. Most brands are like that. Most brands have now many stakeholders. There is no one parent of the brand. So Share the Load has been very personal for me. I think a lot of people who have been influenced by their mother, a lot of people who have grown up with sisters, and as a father, I always say that my daughter has grown me up as a father. All those women, men who have been impacted by women forces, and another digression, which is my guru called Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell was a social anthropologist, and he said a very simple thing. If you cut Jasravi's finger and ask the society, is it masculine or feminine? What would you say? I was cut from my mother. When did I become different? Or did society call me different? How can somebody cut from the same fabric become completely different? So we have to rearrange the world in favor of all of us. We have to have an equal world. So Share the Load is not a campaign. It's a personal journey of all the people who have been on the brand, and there are many of them in 7 years. And to your point, therefore, this law of attraction will always pay returns. ROI we talk about, its return on interest comes when you're attracted to something, not when you're invested in something. When you're invested, you take it away when the market is slumping, right? But when you're attracted, you're willing to go whole hog. So to me, looking at few things we do differently, right? Share the Load is not about insights. Marketing talks about insights so many times, they're stuck in time, right? They want tension. There's no tension, it's confessions. When your child confesses something, when your mother confesses something, when your sister confesses something, when your father confesses something, what do you do with it? It touches you. You don't try to craft it. You don't craft an insight. You use the confession. You're impacted by it. My father said this, and I couldn't believe that after 40 years of knowing him, he told me this. Share the Load is built on confessions of many women and men, and not on insights. That's number one. Number two, we do not invent anything. We show the mirror, because society knows it. We know the hypocrisy of our society, which is why we love stand-up comedy, because stand-up comedy tells us what we can't tell each other. We are always making Share the Load a mirror to the society, starting with, hey dad, did you share the load with mom? Are we teaching our daughters what we teach our sons? Is our mothers, sisters sleeping on time, or they're sleeping later than you because they have to close the household kitchen? Do we see each other as equal? When two men can cook together, what happens when the women intervene? Do we see each other equal? Why are women and men, after a few years of marriage, sleeping in different rooms? Why is this silent separation happening? None of this is invented. It's called deep listening. When you listen to the confession, when you let the people talk their story, and Share the Load is built in that. There is a responsibility we have, all of us, which of course Joe and all started, and that responsibility is a great journey, because maybe I'll find my home back, through these campaigns, through Share the Load. So I'm sharing the load of great campaign.
Amazing. This, when you started with this whole thing of that you attract a brand and we are broken in some way, and how we are fascinated by celebrities and when they take on a role, and how it changes them, how they get to some cobweb of their heart or confront a demon because they took up that role and they attracted it. And again, there are stories like, when I was this, I had thought of this, and then,
Yes.
this meeting, and then 10 years later, etc. And, if brand, I mean, the best argument that could have happened that you just said about purpose is that if human beings have a purpose, because you talked about Joseph Campbell, and I was thinking about hero's journey.
Yes,
Okay?
yes,
And
absolutely.
if it's all about, there's certain, like you're talking about going home, and there are trials and tribulations, and there's of course the fool's starting of the innocent
Yeah,
journey start, all, and everybody can relate to it, and
yeah,
everybody can relate to it, and if there is a universality to us being human, to our experiences, how we are all connected, and like you talked about the pen drive and laptop, and how, and if we don't die and yet we have an experience, I mean, if all that is true,
yeah,
then purpose has a lot of meaning. I mean, how we've defined it, how we've misdefined it, I mean, we can look at that, but
yeah,
there is a mission. Each one of us feels a calling for
yeah,
things, and we if I mean, we feel true joy
yeah,
and be expressed if we go that path. We can feel the calling, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, why
So
would you study in a college just because it gives you value for money? Why do you do a job? Because you get a salary and die unhappy? And I'm asking that question to the culture and society. We are not bereft of culture. We are actually, lack of culture is making us unhappy. We have mental health issues. And we have talked about, I mean, if the whole society and world becomes just consumerist, we won't exist anymore. You know, we don't eat chocolate because we want sweets. We eat chocolate because we feel lonely at the midnight. You know, and if we understand that brands exist because we want to live a better life, we know that we have a purpose. And I'm not saying at any time that that's the only way, but that's a deeper way, and it pays, and we have the proof. It's not a charity, it's not a feel good. And today you're being challenged by younger generation saying, if you are using your product and the resources you use to make it is polluting the environment, I don't want to buy you. Right?
yeah,
Purpose comes in there.
yeah,
It's not an afterthought. Purpose is not an afterthought. Right? Why you do business? If business is all about capitalism, and we know from pandemic it's broken, our younger generations are calling it out, saying, I do not have faith in capitalism, in society, in institutions, in police, in governments. So we have a proof that doesn't work the way it used to work, you know. And therefore, just going back to the idea that, oh, we are capitalistic and we are for profits. Well, I didn't say purpose will not give you profit, right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
profit at what cost? And I say this, that I would work with like-hearted people than like-minded people,
Mhm.
because like-minded is where capitalism exists, like-hearted is where purpose exists. You
Yeah,
know,
nice, very nice. Human wisdom, what we call wisdom, human thought. Where are we? Where has it led us? I mean, we
yes,
needed a U-turn, and I mean, because we were just off the cliff about to fall. The U-turn could only have saved
yes,
us, and we are making the U-turn and having second thoughts, doesn't help. So, like you said, shape the culture, because we've gotten reshaped. Our new generation is reshaped. So, how do you make it vibe with them? How do you make it relevant in terms of what are you going to solve? What are you going to stand for? And like you were talking about the business case, Suraj, I was listening to PNG client also, Ariel, and
mhm,
how she was talking about that the distinctive assets that have gotten created, the value
yeah,
that has gotten created. Because, I mean, if it's all about taking on distinct associations in
yeah,
the real estate of the consumer's head and heart, okay, let's say heart,
yeah,
then it couldn't be more distinctive than this. And even Wim took up this kind of, a little bit of a pie. It also
yeah,
tried to take
yeah,
in
yeah,
terms of gender roles and gender equality. So there's a clear business case, even if it's not just bravery. So purpose and profit, it's not standing apart. And of course, you
yeah.
made a case that just profit also
I
we
feel
don't
that,
want.
yeah, I feel that, we care what everybody talks about actually as a society. And especially our society is very shame driven, not guilt driven. If everybody talks about it, we are wanting to actually pay attention. And I think what Share the Load did is made everybody talk about it. And if you in Indian context and in the current context, if purpose is weighing heavily on you, my dear marketers and advertisers, let's call it social currency. Do you create social currency for your brand? Do your people, not consumers, talk about your brand when they're not using you and not thinking of you? Because most of the time they are not. Nobody wants to wash clothes, for instance, all the time or anytime. But guess what? Today, we are being discussed in a party, being discussed in a family forum. If you can create social currency for your brand, you'll be able to have law of attraction of people who want to participate in the conversation.
The conversation, it's so powerful, and I loved how you reframed it as a social currency. And there's another thing that you talked about, confessions.
Yes.
Confessions. It was amazing because, yeah, I mean, I could relate to the fact that the first ad was like a confession of the father, and
this
that,
is
the
exactly,
deepest truth.
I asked Joe, like, what gave you that line saying, why is laundry a woman's job? And why did the dad actually apologize to the daughter? And that's when he told me, saying, I don't think we wrote it. We just heard the confessions. And hats off to him to tell me that part. I said, that means, this confession which Josie has been building is all we need. We don't need insights. So to all planners and advertisers, I would say that you need to break formats in the world. You want an authentic brand? Don't do insights, do confessions. Confessions are the purest form. You confess to a priest, to your friend, to your intimate partner.
Most vulnerable, most pure, authentic expressions, and they're actually awakenings as well. Like you awaken to something, you can see something that you couldn't see earlier. So it's like, it's like truth that now you can witness. So how has this whole philosophy of share the load been amplified in today's times? So for social currency, I know the power of the thought is definitely there. It's life changing if somebody thinks about it. Even when they're thinking about it, they can be caught at moments when they're not living it. So it's so huge and profound and big, right? But how is it being amplified in the digital world, in the social media, influencers, collabs? How's the young generation responding to it?
Yeah, I feel that the great part of the social media is that we actually see most of the things finally on social media. It might happen on in a hinterland or in a village in India, but you won't see it in newspaper or you won't see it in outdoor. You will see it on social media. So anything which you do, which world can care about, world can create currency about and have a conversation, it will land up on social media. You don't have to do things on social media, and that's the fallacy which marketers don't understand. That what are we doing for Instagram? It's not Instagram. First of all, the word Instagram is primitive, right? Our villages used to be called gram, right? And therefore, if you do something worthwhile, which everybody wants to talk about and share, you will be on Instagram. So you don't actually have to be bothered about social media. You have to bother about social currency. Why should society talk about it? And if they have to talk about it, and in fact, our campaigns are never 30 seconds. And I'm glad it's not 30 seconds, because we are proving something over here, that a more than a minute conversation can be on social media, can be on WhatsApp groups. So many people who don't know that I'm part of this campaign forward this campaign to me, saying, I love this campaign, you should do something like this, which is the beauty of it. So to me, I think Share the Load is a story which is much contradictory to the gospel, that people don't have attention. Actually, people have attention for things they care about. People don't have time for things they don't care about. So to me, it's not about amplification, because amplification feels like, in the first place itself, is something very small. When you have confession, you don't do anything to it. Confessions needs to be put out like a child, pure, because the time you tinker with it, it will become small. Those confessions fly. Confessions are already amplified, like you say. They are lethal. They can be uncomfortable for some people, and it is. We make sure that we don't try to soften it, So I feel that we don't amplify it. What we do, howsoever, and we do it smartly, is we look at every medium and say, what can we add to this conversation? To give you an example, when we are doing this campaign on C equal, and I say that if two roommates who are men can help each other, the same guy, when he gets married, stops helping the wife. Two men who are having a nice party will help each other clean the house. The same man, when wife comes in or sister comes in, he's putting his feet up. Why does he do that? And we had a very interesting idea. What if the Ariel pack had names of men instead of Ariel? So we took some 1,000 names which are very popular in India, from Rakesh to Joseph to Manish, and we also had an activation that if you want your husband's name on the pack, we'll put his name, and it could not say Ariel, it could say Manish, share the load, right? So I think more than amplification, I would say deepening the confession, raising the level of protest against the hierarchy of this order which we have created. That I bought a washing machine and I'm single, and the guy came and said, "Madam kidhar hai? Demo dena hai." I have to give demo. Where is the madam? I said, "I'm the madam. Give me the free demo." So I feel that we are keeping our ears more open to saying which medium can impact in such a way that creates more muscle to this social currency. So it could be social calendars, it could be our own packs, it could be washing machine, it could be labels of the cloth which we can write saying
partnerships.
Collaboration of ecosystem, right? In fact, in one of the campaigns, we invited other partners, other corporates who are targeting women for household products. And to all humility to P&G, they apologized, saying we made a mistake for many years where we showed only women washing clothes. So we are sorry. But we can't do this alone. We want to invite all of you to stop doing this. So I feel it's not a campaign. If you do a campaign, you amplify it.
It's a movement.
When you do a movement, you deepen it. I don't think Mahatma Gandhi amplified his campaign. He deepened his campaign by going down to the villages.
Your client also said that in terms of measuring a percentage of people who believed that household work is a woman's responsibility has gone down from maybe 70% to like a 50%.
In fact, much
so
lower.
What other parameters, tangible parameters, you would say that have changed, of course, this shift?
We can have a much more studied facts, but the facts which really startled me that you added 40 million new consumers. You had sales growth over 7 years of 60%. If you measure, if I just measure the last campaign, my penetration went by 20%, right? My consideration went up by 81%. These are numbers which are measured by them, not by us, right? Our equity went by 18 points. Our sales growth went by 36%. So I think we have an entire case study to prove that when you affect culture, they're willing to put their money on that movement, and I think not only money, they are willing to put their time to forward that movement. They're willing to actually invest their attention, So while we get attention and time, it is clearly affecting the market. And with all due respect, right? This is a movement which is very personal to our people. It's not a detergent anymore. You're washing the cultural stain of patriarchy.
Yeah, and if Ariel was not so well entrenched into detergents, it could very well have moved into adjacent categories because share the load is a philosophy like that. So now we've been talking about culture, Suraj. What does culture mean to you? Because culture, agency culture, advertising culture, subcultures, consumer culture is, everybody's talking, culture can eat strategy for breakfast and all of that. So we are coming to organizational culture eventually because you are in that kind of a role, transcendent the planning. So what does culture mean to you, and how do you think it impacts and agencies functioning on leadership, or it's the other way around?
I have understood culture as a planner first, but before that, I understood as a lost child, you know, because I was wondering why I'm pampered in my house and my sisters are not. Why my mother cooks in the house, my father does not. Uh, Culture came into play that, and I used to deeply think about it, which is why I was lost child, because nobody is answering those questions. It was a done practice, you know. I was sent to a boarding school, my sisters were not. Culture, you know. I wanted to dance in Sangeet when the marriage happens, but I was not allowed as a child. Culture, right? I wanted to play dolls with my sister because I was just, my siblings were two sisters, but I was told you should not. Culture, right? I didn't like to go to a military school, but I just sent, without asking. Culture, right? I enjoyed um, wearing earrings because I used to find it. I still wear it, right? It's a different reason that my daughter was not piercing her ears, so I said, okay, I'll pierce it together. Culture, right? So I have always understood that culture was not made by me; it was made by the society, and therefore the first definition for me was coconut on a tree is nature. When you break it, it becomes culture. When you break it, you put it in a worship place, you start breaking it for auspicious Ganpati and stuff like that. It becomes culture. On a tree, it's nature. When human beings intervene with nature, it becomes culture. You know, how should we live? How should we wear clothes? How should we reproduce? How should we raise family? How should we grow food? How should we pack it? When you intervene with nature, it becomes culture. That's the first journey which I did. And then I grew out of that and I started realizing that culture also creates conflicts between what an individual wants and what society wants. That's where brands come in. The conflict of culture, individual and collective, creates need for how do I resolve this, without revolting against it. That was the second journey. And the third journey, as almost right, leading the team and the tribe, you know, as the head of the agency and partners, the culture became very different for me. It became about decision making. It became about sleeping with the values which I believed in. It became more personal. So to me, culture is almost like making your bed through the day. When you take decisions, that's when culture comes in. Culture is not on your PowerPoint. Culture is not on your placard in the reception. Culture is not written on your website. Every decision you make is a reflection of your culture. So to me particularly, it has been very visible because I took up this head role of a BBDO and landed into pandemic. And pandemic has not been kind to many organizational heads and the head of the tribe, and it has tried them in many ways. I had a very simple way of dealing with it. I wanted to know what my values are. What do I believe in? It's easy to say I believe in equal gender, but it's difficult to say that I don't know what my wife earns. You know, so to me, during pandemic is when it was very clear that culture is visible in everyday decision making, which are hard, which has stakes, which could be uncomfortable to other people. You know, and therefore, culture of an agency we talk about in many forums, right? Culture of this agency is that of my culture is not about companies. Culture is about people, and largely it should start at the top. And I've learned it hard way that you got to go back to who you are, what you believe in, where you are in the journey back to your home, and manifest that in your decisions.
Yeah, it's when the rubber meets the road in terms of what you're normalizing by taking decisions, and in that moment of crisis, when it's inconvenient,
Yes.
What are you going to say
Yes.
yes to and say no to? Because
Yes.
yeah, that's the true test. So leadership and today's times, Suraj, when there is advertising industry has changed so much, the place of advertising in the marketing mix has changed. the equation between clients and advertising agency has changed. Of course, there are gems of relationships here and there, but overall, the equation, the respect, the partnership has become different because, like you were saying, there are many parents today. I mean, there are many nannies also. There are daycare centers also.
Yes,
So,
yes.
in this high pressure world, what is the role of the leadership? And what are they supposed to ensure in that world, in that tribe, such that great work happens?
You used a very interesting word, tribe. And I don't know many people know that, but I am educated by qualification in social work. I have done master in social work from TIS, where they have a fantastic way of teaching. They, for 2 days, you don't sit in the institute. You go and work with an NGO, you know. And I was working in Borivali National Park, where an NGO was fighting for Warli's rights, because not many know that Borivali National Park, before it became national park, was inhabited by Warli tribals. And in that tribe, on one night when I was present, one of the hamlet, one of the hut caught fire. And the mukhia, the main head of the village, did not do anything. But one of the person who nobody knew actually jumped into the fire, saved the cattle, saved the people, saved some assets from the house, and next day he was the hero. And my biggest learning about leadership is not a destination. Leaders are born in crisis. When the match is at a penalty level and one goal can change the game, a leader is born. When the organization is not doing well and people are most important thing, while the profit demands that people should be sacrificed, a leader is born. So a crisis gives birth to leader, which brings me to your question that we are living in a world where crisis is every day. Crisis is the new normal, which means every day is an opportunity to reveal whether you can lead the tribe. And it's a test. It's a acid test. And I love that, because I also believe that this kind of change keeps you young, keeps you excited, keeps you thrilled. It's like a thriller. So I'm not worried about change. I think leadership today is a gone passe study. I think today's generation and times are looking for mentors, not leaders. So this leadership dialogues have to stop at some time. It assumes that they are leaders. There are no leaders left. If there were leaders, we wouldn't be in such a crisis. The industry is in crisis, the marketing is in crisis, everybody has to justify their job, everybody has to show savings from advertising and marketing spend, and there are leaders. I feel the time has come. We need mentors. We are working with an entire generation which is suffering from mental health. We are working with talents who are not happy in their jobs. They're asking bigger questions. They're asking, what am I working for? What's the meaning of this work? How much is the reward? Why am I rewarded less? What's the reward which CEO is getting? Why don't I know that? What's the value of my hour? Why don't I get work life? They are questioning the idea of work. They're questioning the idea of reward. They're questioning the idea of designations and cubicles. And if any leader thinks they can lead these people, I would love to kind of sit in their class. Certainly, I feel that people with experience like us have big data. We have data to churn. Just like machine learning, we have learned. And therefore, instead of leading, if we started mentoring, we have more experience. We have seen more seasons. We have seen more changes. Everything has been tried on our generation. From the landline to pager to telephony, everything has been tried. That means we have a great sense of adaptability, which this generation does not have. We are a generation who have listened to our parents. Now we're listening to our kids.
The sandwich generation.
We are a sandwich generation. So to me, I think this generation has a role of mentorship, not leadership. How can we make believe? To me personally, and Joji with my partner, we want to make everybody in BBDO believe that they have a meaningful role in this organization. And I'm not even coming to meaningful role in brand and campaign and Everybody has a personal role. We introduced something very interesting few years ago. Everybody has a passion which nobody knows. Nobody is an account person. Nobody is a planner. Nobody is a creative person. I know he's a drummer. I know she's a great aeronautical engineer, because in her hobby she's doing that. We told everyone, bring your personal side to work, because if we bring personal side to work, we'll be a commune, will not be an agency. And it's important, and I believe that it's a people organization, and I'm going on record to say that this one industry has done disservice to people. We keep talking about people are important, but we have really not taken care of our people. And I'm willing to go on record on saying that it's time we stood up our people, because I don't go to BBDO. I go to a bunch of people I love to meet, love to talk. They have so much to contribute. We are confessing to each other, and then we are taking that confessions and sharing with brands and people and saying, hey, you know what, this is the real truth. So to me, I feel it's mentorship age we are living in. I feel we should listen rather than dictate. We should use our AI, which is actual experience rather than made up things. We should try to show the path. We should also see the path. We are living in times it's a two-way exchange. Will leadership assumes somebody has to lead. Mentorship is two-way process. It's more therapeutic. We need to hear what are you going through, what do you want to do in life, how it is going to be meaningful. And I'm pleased to say that as BBDO Asia, we did a survey, which is a third-party survey, on what's our belonging index of our people. And in BBDO Asia, BBDO India has highest belonging index. More of our people belong to this organization. Yeah. So I believe we have a role to play. We need to put heart back into our commune, and we need to adopt the new practices without leaving the heart. Otherwise, there'll be no creativity. There'll be no magic.
So you've answered this at many levels, and I could almost picture because I was just thinking about creativity, and when you were saying disservice to our people, and I was thinking that I've been in agencies for the longest time, but everything I've learned about creativity has been by my own endeavors and my
Yes.
own consistency and other practices that I took up, because that was not the talk, the process for it, or igniting it, or protecting it. That was not the conversation that was happening in the creative department. Maybe, they had their mentors who did it, but in planning or client servicing, or generally in the consciousness of an organization of advertising, creativity, and how, when you give birth to an idea, and if it's not taken up, how do you heal, how do you get back to the whole thing, how you keep birthing, how do you keep feeding to yourself, how do you keep drawing from your life, all that. And how do you sharpen your own voice, because that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Real gun to me, and I'm
It's a new gun. Suraj, you cannot think or elaborate. Okay, otherwise I will not be kind. I will shoot at you. Let's see how you do. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. The mother's best advice.
Be yourself.
Alternate profession could have been
A psychiatrist.
What would you do on Mars for fun?
Bartending.
As per your wife, your most often used phrase.
Believe in the truth.
One thing no one knows about you.
One thing, no, I'm a dancer.
Kathak?
Any dance.
Oh, nice. Okay. A book you'd like to gift to all your friends.
A book I'd like to give all my friends. I would like to give any book from Joseph Campbell, basically.
Nice. What's something new happening in your life right now?
New happening in my life. I'm rediscovering all the questions I had when I was a kid, and I'm rediscovering answers. So my house is full of books. You can't sit anywhere and not find a book. And it's not, I don't have a bookshelf. It's just lying like a bookshop everywhere.
Mama, are you listening? Come back and reclaim your territory. What's your favorite childhood memory?
My favorite childhood memory is having a dream that I'll have a house where in one corner there'll be samosas, other corner there'll be jalebi, and in another corner there'll be a puppet show, and third corner there'll be some kind of makeshift drama happening, and I'm sitting in the middle and having samosa and jalebi and watching both of these.
Wow. My God. Okay. If you were to devote the rest of your life to philanthropy, what would you choose?
I would choose to help a lot of young people live better and not have the wisdom when they are 50 or 40.
And you're doing that. What is your greatest joy?
My greatest joy is to actually impact or just inspire or just get the playback saying, that day you said something and it made me think.
Very, very nice. Okay. What's a lesson that took you a long time to learn?
A lesson which took me a long time to learn is that you got to be your absolutely unbiased, different self. We all have different self hidden in us. I think it took me a long time to understand that you don't need to hide even an iota of it. You don't need to moderate it. You don't need to dilute it. Be the concentrated, what people think is the dark side of themselves to actually change and impact the world.
What is one missed opportunity you wish you could have a second chance at?
Love. All the time.
And this is a wrap up, Suraj. I will request you to share any address online through which people can reach out to you.
Yeah, so I think you can get in touch with me at Insta SK Running Thoughts. I'm constantly running and constantly thinking. So you can catch me there for sure. I think I would love anyone who is going to chance upon this podcast to listen to it, because what Just Ravi brings is a sense of energy where you don't want to have a dialogue, you want to have a reflection. So I would call it reflection at the edge, which is what has happened to me. And if you are interested in listening and kind of being in the shadow of reflections, or even borrowing the inspiration of reflection, or if you're called to actually have a conversation with her, I think you'll benefit more, because there are too many conversations happening and it's become cacophony. But what probably this Jag brings to me personally, she has made me reflect on so many things. And that's the treasure box for anyone who chances upon it. So please do.
So unique and original as always, Suraj.
I mean that, yeah.
Thank you so much. That is so sweet of you.